the record already. And our special guest today is Dr. Melissa Gonzalez. She is the Associate Dean of Career Services with Monroe College, and they are one of our valued affiliate members. And Dr. Gonzalez is going to talk to us about how we can use emotional intelligence to boost our real estate sales business. So without further ado, Dr. Gonzalez, thank you and welcome.
Thank you so much, Mary. Good morning, everyone. I appreciate you taking the time to join me this morning. So today we're going to talk about emotional intelligence. And just to kind of start off, there's a great theory that's been utilized throughout a variety of different fields. And I think it's so applicable to real estate. And I'm going to kind of make the argument of how we can utilize that, again, to help us in our careers. So emotional intelligence basically refers to the ability that you have to really perceive, control, and evaluate emotions, not only in yourself, but also in your client base, okay? So it's going to allow you the ability to connect well with your buyers on a more personal level. Now, emotional intelligence has been around for quite some time. It was first introduced as a concept back in 1964, and it gained popularity in 1995 in a book written by Daniel Goleman. And the book was called Emotional Intelligence, Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. And I will say that I actually use this theory in my own doctoral study for my research on cyberbullying. But again, it's something that can really be applied in a variety of different fields. So emotional intelligence has really gathered attention throughout the field overall, because employers have really begun to understand that it is a beneficial life skill to have in a variety of different fields. So EI continues to be one of the top 10 job skills that employers are really looking for within their employee base. 71% say that they would prefer an individual with high emotional intelligence over IQ, right? So it's not so much how book smart you are, it's really the ability to transcend what you've learned in your books and utilize your emotions to an extent that allow you to really create some positive outcomes in your interactions with other people. 75% say that long-term job success depends on people skills, right? While only 25% say that it's really technical knowledge. So, you look at your resume basically just showcases your technical skills, these things that we can quantify, right? So I studied Excel, or I'm really good at math, but the opportunity to actually showcase your people skills doesn't come through until you actually interview for a job or actually begin working on the job. So it's an interesting paradigm to see that and kind of begin to evaluate the role that you can play in affecting other individuals, right? People with high emotional intelligence make an average of $29,000 more annually than people with low emotional intelligence, right? So again, it's that ability to utilize your skill set and your charm and maneuvering what you know about people overall in terms of how they behave and how they act, and kind of leverage that again in your particular business. Salespeople with high EI produce twice the revenue of those who have low or below average scores. So hopefully that will motivate you to kind of consider this and utilize some of these strategies and ideas that I'm going to share with you to hopefully begin to apply that in terms of how you can actually boost your own sales in the business that you currently have. Okay, so that's good information overall in terms of what's out there that's known on EI. Okay, so let's dive a little deeper in terms of real estate sales and emotional intelligence. So as you all well know, as professionals in this industry, everything about real estate is really tied into emotions, right? They're individuals that are anxious, they're nervous, they're excited, and maybe can't make a good decision, or maybe they're just, making decisions on the fly. So there's going to be a myriad of things experienced throughout the purchasing or selling of a home, right? So you want to understand from your client base what motivates them to sell. What is holding them back from making that decision? Is there an emotional trigger? Are they really emotionally tied to their first home? Or maybe there's something about this new neighborhood that excites them or perhaps has them a little bit concerned. So you want to be able to capture all of that information, obviously when you have a conversation and kind of see how they react and look at their body language, and really try to figure out a way to ethically use this knowledge, right, to help them either accomplish that sale, or kind of make that final decision in terms of purchasing or selling that home, right? So for you as the professional on the opposite side, if you're not prepared to really handle those emotions and kind of, think on your toes and figure out how can I best reach this client and help them, make a good decision, or, perhaps, kind of expedite the process some, right? You're going to find yourself in situations where you're just frustrated or perhaps disappointed. So if you can take a moment to just understand a little bit more about emotional intelligence, it'll help you develop a stronger relationship with your clients. It'll help you reach your goal and their goal. And of course, it'll help referrals come your way, because again, the person on the opposite end will say, I had such a pleasant experience. This person understood me. This person got me. This person knew exactly what I was looking for. Took the time to kind of focus on those little details, to really make this an enjoyable experience. I think that this is going to be something that'll assist you further out. Okay. So let's kind of understand a little bit more about the theory in general, and then I'll kind of help you apply that practically in your day-to-day. So researchers suggest that there are 4 levels of emotional intelligence. I know this is something that's really been studied for quite some time, but if you really begin to dive and to kind of take away some nuggets, you'll understand like, wow, this totally makes sense. So when you can perceive someone's emotions, that's the first level. And when I talk about perceiving someone's emotions, we're talking about those nonverbal signals, right? Like a facial expression or a body language, right? And sometimes, you can kind of get a vibe, right? When you meet someone for the first time. And some of us are very extroverted and some of us are introverts in general, right? So we kind of have to work a little bit harder to kind of create that positive vibe and create that great relationship. But you're either someone that kind of dives into the action or you're more observant. So understanding emotional intelligence really asks you to take a moment to perceive a little bit of how this person is feeling. Are they pressed for time? Did they have a bad morning or a bad afternoon? Are they on the edge? Are they super excited? Are they open and flexible to different suggestions, right? So that's important. Oftentimes you have to ask yourself, am I really good at doing that? Even within yourself, do you know maybe on that particular day, things are not going so well, but then how am I going to kind of put that to the side so that I can really hone in on this particular client, right? Another one is reasoning with emotions, right? So sometimes what we feel in our heart is not what's going on in our head, right? So we have to figure out, how can I put this to the side right now and not let this kind of overtake the situation so that I can really think clearly and really allow my cognitive abilities to kind of take hold, right? Because sometimes our emotions can get the best of us. And sometimes even for the client, their emotions can get the best of them. What kinds of phrases, what kinds of things can I say in my mind to kind of obviously say to them to kind of calm them down a little bit or make them feel more confident or more secure, or what I always say, safe, right? Because I'm in a safe situation right now. Everything that my real estate agent is saying is trustworthy, and I'm just going to continue through this process, right, until I can actually make that sale or sell the home, right? Understanding emotions is another layer. So if someone is expressing angry emotions, right, so the observer has to kind of understand what's the cause of that person's anger, right, and what it could mean. Now, as humans overall, we're not on the same level in terms of communicating how we feel, right? Some of us are kind of not able to verbalize that. So you've seen children, right? Some of them will just kind of throw a tantrum and it's more physical, but then others will say, I'm really upset or I'm really mad, right? So as adults in general, you might have a client that says, I'm really disappointed, or I'm so excited about this, right? So you have to kind of figure out what's triggering that. And if it's a positive, of course, you want to continue to kind of work on that positive vibe. But if it's negative, what can I potentially say to this individual, or what, maybe get some clues like, oh, how was your morning this morning? It's a great sunny day today. Maybe this person might come say, well, what's so sunny about it, right? Like you run across characters and personalities and you have to kind of figure out for yourself, okay, what would be a good way to segue this person so I can get that positive outcome. And then managing emotions. And this is a life skill that's going to take us, we keep developing it over time, but regulating emotions and responding appropriately, right? And of course, responding to the emotions of others is incredibly important. So one of the things that I always tell my students is that, would you not say or behave differently if there was a camera recording you 24/7, right? Sometimes you'll think twice, right? Because sometimes our emotions do get the best of us. Sometimes we're frustrated. I'm like, I spent 5 hours with this person driving around neighborhoods, and I still can't get them to come to a conclusion in terms of what they're looking for, right? So it's really understanding that maybe I just need to, step away for a minute, or, I'm going to grab a drink of water. I'm just going to, take 5 minutes. I'll be right back, right? You have to manage your emotions because, again, you're surrounded by clients, and of course you don't want them to pick up on that, right? Because there is an art to the sale, as they say. So it's incredibly important that you take personal inventory of your emotions and how those come through. Like, you've ever met individuals that, you can see every emotion on their face, and then there are other individuals you can't get a single read, right? So again, it's about, do I use verbal communication? Do I try other ways? Maybe I bring them a cup of coffee on the way through or something. But again, it's kind of strategizing the field, strategizing your clients, understanding them, picking up on clues. Are they family oriented? Are they looking for are they looking to retire? Are they looking to start fresh? Like, you're going to pick up on all these clues. And again, utilize that in your strategy to allow them and allow yourself the opportunity to have a really positive experience in terms of this transaction. Okay. All right. So the good thing is that, emotional intelligence is something that can be developed over time, right? We're not born with it, right? We have experiences, we all have our traumas over time, right? But we also have the opportunity to change every day if you make that choice, right? And it's a skill set that has the potential to be positive, then of course you want to take an opportunity to just read up on it and understand some of the strategies and apply them and continue to do that. So I like to break emotional intelligence, when I kind of work with my students on it, into 5 different components. So we have the component of motivation, self-awareness, self-regulation, social skills, and empathy. So we'll start with motivation, okay? So motivation is what drives you, right? There's an internal motivation and of course an external goal, right? So why is it that why did I get into this business? And it could be that you just really enjoy working with people and the opportunity of allowing them to better their circumstances, right? Kind of move into a new situation, move into a new home that perhaps they've been saving all their life for. So there's something there, right? So sales expert Barry Farber says that a salesperson's energy level is directly related to their mental and physical energy, right? So when we have a picture of a salesperson in our mind, or at least in my mind, I'm looking at an energetic go-getter, right? Someone who is just excited, crack of dawn in the morning, getting their day going, and just really filled with positive energy. Because what is not positive, right, about changing where you live or your circumstances? That's an incredible thing. So a really good salesperson is going to have that energy. And of course, guys, we don't all wake up rosy in the morning, but your demeanor in the morning is a personal choice, right? So you can wake up in the morning and say, oh, it's raining outside and it's going to be a really bleak day, or I'm going to say it's a rainy day, but I'm going to make it an awesome day, right? And so that makes a big difference. And that's what motivates an individual to kind of move forward. So that energy comes from proper self-care. And I think we don't pay too much attention to our self-care, right? You have to constantly rekindle that spark, right? Like anything in any relationship in our life, whether it be our professional relationships or personal relationships, it's that commitment to continually keep it exciting, keep it innovative, and you taking care of yourself. Because if you're, exhausted and run down, of course, that's going to reflect like anything else. Think of those experiences where you've been to other organizations for whatever reason. It could even be the doctor's office, and you came away with an unpleasant feeling, right? So that's the equivalent to if this person on the opposite end doesn't have the best bedside manner, you're not going to be able to be successful. So a lot of this means stress management. Do what you feel is going to be exciting for you to help you manage your stress. We're all dealing with different types of stress in our lives, and some are more overwhelming than others, but you have to figure out what's good for you. So eating well and on time, right? We're never at our best when we're hungry, when our tummies are not filled, when we skip lunch or we skip dinner or skip breakfast, right? So you want to make sure that you're well taken care of. That's number one, because obviously a well-fed body gives you a great, working brain. We all know that, right? Exercise, yoga, meditation, right? Practicing affirmations, prioritizing your sleep, surrounding yourself with high energy people. I tell this to my students 1,000,001 times. When you're surrounded by high energy and joy, right? That is a great motivator overall. Like, you want to be part of that. You don't want to be part of that crowd, right? That is just, unfortunately not as energetic as they could be, because nothing positive can come out of a situation like that, right? So figuring out for yourself, I'm going to take great care of myself so that obviously it comes through to my clients. And then again, when you have that ability to emanate that positivity, that positive vibe, everything falls into place, because again, that's received. As humans, we're consistently and constantly perceiving from those individuals, right, that we're transacting with. So again, think about the best positive sales experience you've ever had. And I'm sure all of you can tell me that there was just something incredibly positive about that, right? That left of just a pleasant sense of, I'm going to go back to this person, or I want to refer my friends to this person, because again, it's scaffolding. It's one positive experience builds upon the other, and we want to have more of that. So motivation is incredibly important. So that's kind of a key component for EI. Another one is self-awareness. Okay. Now, honestly speaking, how many of us have taken a moment to really do a little bit of self-reflection and ask ourselves, how do I come across to other people? You probably haven't, right? You probably haven't given yourself the opportunity to do that. But sometimes we get feedback from other individuals about how they perceive us and how they see us. And again, that could be hurting our business if it's not positive, right? So self-awareness is really the ability to identify and understand your emotions. And honestly, it's one of the most important skills for success. Because if I'm going to make an impact, if I'm going to be influential, if I'm going to try to build trust on others, I need to understand how I come across. Am I rude? Am I, a little bit too blunt? Am I, just not caring enough? Am I not empathetic enough? Am I not sensitive enough? Like, it's taking this inventory and say, well, I want to really make a positive impression on others. So how do I come across? So the manner in which you behave and respond, right, is really governed by what's going on inside you. So if you're not having a positive or a good day, that's going to come through no matter what. Like, how many of us pride ourselves on making sure that we're responsive, right? Someone sends an email, I'm not going to wait 3 days to get back to that person, right? Or I'm going to say, you know what? I got your email. Thanks for sending it. I'll get to it as soon as I possibly can, right? Taking that care and consideration that now that we're in a technological environment, that we're not really kind of transacting in person like we used to, you want to be able to let that person know your time is valuable to me and I care about you, right? So that's all just our behavior, really letting others know our impact, okay? So being self-aware helps to uncover destructive thought patterns, really, negative habits, unhealthy habits, and it leads to better decision-making and behavioral responses. And I'm going back to that whole idea of if there was a camera following me 24/7 and recording me, would I not take a step back? I'm not going to say that. I could think it, but I'm not going to say it, right? Or I'm going to watch my reactions to certain things. And I think it's a really helpful exercise. And there are a lot of tools that are free online that allow you to do these personal self-awareness exercises. Because again, if you're struggling in a particular area, look, listen, the beauty of life is that you can always reverse, try again, and keep at it, right? So how do you practice self-awareness? Well, you can do a personality self-assessment. Have all my students do that, because when they tell me that they want to move into certain areas in their careers, I'm like, okay, we want to make sure you're an exact match personality wise for that, right? So if you're telling me that you want to be a teacher, but then you don't like working with children, that's another one, right? If you want to go into business and work with people, you've got to love people, and it's all the good people, the ones that are positive, the ones that are negative, the ones that are happy, the ones that are sad, and so on and so forth. Practice self-reflection. How many times have you asked for feedback from clients you've worked with, your colleagues, right? Listen, it hurts, but I want to know. Like, I would really want to know, what could I be better at? What could I improve upon, right? Because again, I want to be successful. And in being that total package, we're going to have to make some changes and try different things, right? Accountability. This is a big one. When we drop the ball, when we don't follow through, it's so important to say, I'm accountable for what just happened. I will take responsibility. My sincerest apologies. What can I do to make this better? That's a big one nowadays when we're working with clients overall, like, you don't want to just blow someone off or just ignore them, right? You want to just say, you know what? This didn't go well. I'm sorry, this wasn't a positive experience. Please allow me the opportunity to make it up to you. That's a big one. And I think that overall, even as a general public, we would say that customer service, right, has really been challenged over the past couple of years, right? Because we're doing everything virtual. But I always tell students and professionals like yourselves, I'm like, now is when you really want to step it up a little bit, right? Because I'm not with you in the same room, but I certainly want to engage and bring about some energy through the internet to you, right? So it's important to just ensure that you are using the right emotional language, the vocabulary, utilizing the words. And if you don't know, it's okay. You can learn. There are a lot of great resources on, speaking business, right? In terms of the language, because a lot of it is emotional. Be aware of your body language, right? Many times what we're saying, it does not jive with what our body is doing. So again, we just want to take notice of that and think before you act, right? And avoid negative self-talk. The beauty of a business venture, right, is to make it what you want, right? To be as creative as you want to be. And if you're engaging in negative self-talk, like, oh, this isn't going to go well, or this isn't good. No, right? You don't want to do that to yourself. You definitely want to say, I got this. I'm going to try this again. I'm going to try to continue to get clues from this, from my client, so that I could make it aware. But again, just know that self-awareness is incredibly important. How you come across to your client base is important, okay? Self-regulation, right? So not only do I know, but how am I going to contain myself? I always say graceful under fire, right? At all times when you're tested, you want to be able to control your emotions. Yes, you can feel them. I tell my students all the time, feel it, right? But then don't let it overtake the situation. And I think that in this day and age, we've seen a lot of situations played out over the media and the press where you say, oh, I cannot believe that happened. Why did this person allow his emotions or her emotions to overtake them? And the thing that's interesting now that a lot of us don't take note of is that now that we're in a more technological media-based society, friends, once things are recorded, it becomes viral and you can't take it back, right? So it's always the art of practicing. Like, I always tell myself, I'm never going to put anything in writing that's going to come back and hurt me, right? I'm never going to allow myself to be in a situation where I'm in a picture or a video of some sort, right? Engaging with a client or saying something that I'm going to regret. So it's a question of thinking and saying, okay, I feel it. I feel disappointed. I'm upset. I need to regulate myself right now and figure out, how am I going to glide through this and keep that relationship going, right? So with self-regulation, you want to find productive, professional ways, appropriate ways to channel your emotions, okay? So you want to create a rhythm to your emotional life that can help you. Like, you know your triggers, right? You know off the bat before you start your business day, if you're feeling 100%, right? Or if you're just kind of at 80 or you're at 70. So you've got to figure out, okay, what am I going to do now? What am I going to really focus on? Am I going to play my music a little louder today? Am I going to do a little extra affirmation? Am I going to put an extra 15 minutes in my workout? Am I going to take more breaks? Create a routine that works for you. You know, there's a certain day and time where you're just humming along, right? You're productive, the ideas are flowing, those conversations are going well, right? Take a break every once in a while. Allow yourself that opportunity, right? And celebrate your milestones, your sales milestones. I don't know if you do that, but you can create a nice little chart for yourself, or a nice little vision board, a nice little extra dinner or treat for yourself. But you have to celebrate even the smallest successes, because again, that's a good practice, because it continues to keep you on that positive, to continue to move forward, working on that particular sale, right? Acknowledge your feelings, all right? And then keep your cool as much as you possibly can. And maybe find that sounding board, this person that you can pick up on, have a conversation and say, listen, I'm having a really tough moment right now. Can we just talk it out and keep it going? But I think that's an incredible part of maintaining a successful relationship with all of your clients, and just across the board with individuals that you work, right? Because this is a small world in the sense that you want to just make sure that all of your interactions are as clean, and you're building, what I always tell students, you're building your legacy and your brand. So when someone has met you, you always want to say, how do I want them to remember me by? Was it my smile? Was it what I said that day? Was it how I made them feel that day? Right? So every opportunity that you have to go out there and work is your extra chance to say, this is who I am. And you want to be that one person that's like, no, you got to call this person. This is just a great experience. I want you to have the same thing. So when you take and you think about yourselves like this, guys, you start to view yourself differently. And again, everything starts to flow, and you're more motivated than anything to continue putting that effort out there, because again, you're scaffolding on those positive experiences, okay? And then we have social skills, right? So this is the degree to which you're able to communicate, sustain, build, and maintain relationships, all right? And again, for you, you want to have that continual relationship with your client base, and you want them to refer you to other friends and families, right? So if you have a strongly developed emotional intelligence quotient, right, you're going to be able to communicate effectively and kind of focus on what it is that is meaningful to that person. When someone says, wow, that was so thoughtful of you. Well, you took a moment, right, to take a piece of information, something that person, enjoyed. Maybe that person likes flowers, and you made sure that there was flowers on there, or this person loved the color red, or maybe there was a red pillow on the couch, or something along that line. But it showcases that you understand the art of socializing with other individuals and what's meaningful to them. And then you went ahead and took that step further to make that more pleasant, right, and more special for that person. With social skills, it's the ability to manage conflict. I always tell students, listen, you do not go out like a roaring lion, right? Every day is an opportunity to learn about something. So if you made an error, you made a mistake, even sometimes if I'm in the wrong, I don't like conflict. So I was like, you know what? I'm sorry. Let's talk this through. Let's work it out. My sincerest apologies. Again, you become a stronger person for doing that. There is no weakness, right, in saying, oh, I was wrong and I don't want to admit it, but you know what I'm saying? So you want to be able to, again, inspire and motivate others through your behavior. And again, the other thing to remember is that you're modeling positive behaviors. So everything that you're doing in your field of work is showing others how to behave as well and respond as well. So you're teaching others at the same time while you're displaying these behaviors. So the social skills can certainly help you in kind of nurturing another client base, and even sustaining the one that you have, because again, we're the first ones to say, I give this person 5 stars. You definitely want to, go and visit with this individual. And again, it allows you to hone your persuasion skills. Persuasion skills aren't negative, they're positive. And it may take me less amount of time to be able to make that sale versus someone who's starting out in the field, because again, I've trained on this, I've worked on this, and I put in the energy to ensure that I was really positive and strong in this particular area of study. Okay. Okay. I'm trying to move to the next page. Okay. Empathy. This is another big one. Okay. How many times have we put the shoe on the other foot? Some of us don't really have a strong ability to do that. And I always tell individuals, listen, when we are thinking about making a decision, when we're presenting to others, when we're, you have the responsibility, right, of showing these houses in the world to these individuals. You have to understand, how does this person feel in this particular instance? And what is this going to make this person? Is it going to be a positive trigger or is it going to be negative? So I always like to, when I'm working with a group of individuals, I like to try to understand their perspectives, understand their experiences, and really understand, what is it that's unique and special about this group, and how can I relay a message to them, right? So this is an opportunity for me to do that here. So again, you want to understand, I want to know you from the front, from all angles, and understand what is it that makes their minds work. So it's the same thing. You want to practice empathizing with those around you, whether it be your own family, whether it be your client base, but you want to help people understand that I acknowledge and I value where you're coming from, and I understand, right? A lot of us have commonalities in terms of our experiences, right? Some of us perhaps don't, but it doesn't keep us from at least trying to imagine or understand or get information that'll give us a little bit more of that understanding, because I will honestly say that, your clients will bond to you much faster. Oh yeah, you have children, so do I. Oh, you college level? Well, that's great. What college is your child going to? Oh, I grew up there. Remember that basketball court? Right? All those different pieces and cues that you get, again, will allow you to kind of see the world through their lenses, because ultimately it's their world that you're trying to get in, right? It's not so much yours. It's about, I'm going to help you create, and I understand you, and I'm going to, show you whatever benefits and features that you're interested in this particular transaction, right? So empathy is incredibly important. Before you act, before you think, before you say anything, it's important to say, how is this message going to be perceived? And is it in line with this particular client? Okay. So I guess in boosting your sales, I would say it's important for you to understand the why. Why is your client choosing this, this home versus that home? Why did they choose you? Because you have to say, I have an opportunity and I have this gift in front of me, right? What am I going to do with it? I always say, use the I've been there, right? The acknowledgement kind of, phrase, I've been there and this is what I did. Because if anything, that opens the door to, oh, okay, great. So tell me what your experience was like, right? And then that kind of helps, because if anything, it cements the idea that you understand where I'm coming from, right? And you kind of get where I'm at, right? Accept and process criticism. There is absolutely nothing wrong with that. All right. Again, I would rather know than not know and continue to make the same mistakes. But when you receive criticism and feedback, if anything, I think that it just puts you in a stronger position to just make those changes. And I think you've actually garnered a stronger relationship with that client. Okay. And you want to be enthusiastic. I mean, at the end of the day, I definitely want to be around positivity, especially for a sales transaction. I'm sure you do too. You want this to be enjoyable and fun for yourself as well. And again, I think that if you take a moment to just really consider some of these ideas and just employ them in small ways, you're going to start to see a change of some sort. Okay. So as Mary mentioned before, you are members of HGAR, and you do receive in our partnership a 20% tuition reduction if you so choose to continue your education here at Monroe College. So I just wanted to share this information. Mary, I think that you can, I'll send you the presentation if you wanted to share it with the individuals here. You're more than welcome to do that.
Sure.
Yeah, and I'll open it up. If anyone has any questions that you'd like to ask, I'm more than happy to answer them.
We have a smaller group, so if you can unmute or you can put the questions in the chat, and I'll let Dr. Gonzalez know. See, we've had yes, this is being recorded. A couple of people asked that, yes, and we convert it to a YouTube, so it should be available this afternoon for you to send out. A really great presentation, because there's a lot to think about that you were talking about that you kind of really don't take the time to think about. Is there one thing, Dr. Gonzalez, that you would stress more than anything else as far as what people need to really be aware of when talking about emotional intelligence? Anything that stands out in your entire presentation?
I think that the biggest one is the idea that you really should participate in self-reflection, and just getting an inventory of yourself. Like, I don't know if you guys do this, but I know that every couple of months, I just try to do a personality assessment. We're continually evolving and changing. And, as a professional, I want to obviously give the best of myself. And if there's certain patterns or things that I know that could be, hurting me in some way, shape, or form, I like to know about it. And of course, with theories like this, you can see this in play in a variety of different fields. I mean, the field of education and the field of, healthcare, in business overall, and just seeing how you take these small acts of study, really, basically, and just apply that. But I always tell students and adult learners, start with yourself. Take your inventory. And again, process that feedback. Like, I don't know when was the last time anyone had a performance review, but I like to know. I tell my students, how did I do? How was my level of service with you? That's important, because again, you can only become stronger when you have the ability and the opportunity to make those positive changes. So I would say that would be the biggest takeaway, because I think after you've been able to do that, everything else kind of basically just kind of falls in line in terms of allowing you to know, okay, how can I be more effective and produce more positive outcomes? So that's what I would certainly say, Mary.
Great. Does anyone else have any questions? You can unmute yourself if you have a question.
Oh, I have a question.
Okay.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi, how are you?
Good.
What really hits me, all of this makes a lot of sense when it comes to your clients and business. But when it comes to personal interaction, like with your family, I mean, I'm sure many of us have situations where you were hurt by a family member, or you don't even know why, they don't tell you. And it's, how do you address them? Because it's a whole different ballgame with family. There's a lot of baggage. There's baggage with them.
Yeah, most definitely. And I think that I would say that knowing yourself, Barbara, right? I think that having that adult conversation with a family member and say, listen, we are family, we are bound, and nothing's going to change the fact that we're family, right? I can't break the transaction, but I will say that, I'm going to be honest and letting you know my assessment. You don't have to agree with it. I do the same thing with my mom all the time. She's in her 70s, and, she still sees me as a 10-year-old, and I'm like, Mom, I'm going to be really honest with you. This is how I feel. I appreciate you letting me know what your take on it is, but this is kind of where I'm at in my life. This is how I feel about it. And, I certainly hope that as an adult, you can respect where I'm coming from, right? And I think that over time, when you can utilize that language, notice I'm not blaming her, I'm not taking the blame, I'm just basically setting the boundary. Right? Because this is a relationship that's forever, and I want the relationship forever, but I'm not going to add to the conflict. I think that part of emotional intelligence is being able to take the feedback, right? But I'm not going to necessarily absorb and agree with all of it, but I'm going to give her the opportunity, right, to let me know how she feels about it without kind of feeling that guilt that I have to ride with it, right? So I think that over time, when you can start to verbalize that in a positive way, right? That I'm not going to change. I'm not going to be upset with you. I'm not going to hold a grudge. I'm not going to, not talk to you anymore. I think it helps, because as adults, we have to kind of create, the levels of accessibility and the levels of, you know what, this is the extent to which we're going to, you know, work with each other, but I'm still going to love you, right? So yes, you're right. It is more challenging, but you can still apply it in a way. Ultimately, I think that what I really love about this theory is that it just really tries to create a sense of peace overall. You know what I mean? Just to be able to allow yourself to know yourself and not judge yourself. We're so unique and different, right? And we all have to like live and let others live as well. But letting them know that I can still rise above what you said to me. I'm not going to be hurt by it, but I'm still going to continue to live my life, right? So that's what I would say to that. And you really should take the time, if you can, read up on Goldman's books, because he's just so intelligent in terms of providing that in a variety of different ways that there's no conflict, really. It's really to the extent to which you're ready, Barbara, to kind of set those parameters with all the different relationships that you have.
Did you give us the name of Goldman's book? I'm sorry, I wasn't.
Yes, it's, I'm going to give you the title again. It's Emotional Intelligence,
Right.
Why It Can Matter More Than IQ. So I'm going to copy this and I'm going to put it in the chat so that we all have it.
Great. I'm sorry to ask twice.
No, it's fine. That's great. There it is. It's a really great resource. And he's continued to provide different seminars and continue to write. He actually goes to different corporations and colleges and continues to teach on it, but it's really fascinating. So I encourage you all, you know, take a moment to read a little bit on it.
Great, thank you. Does anyone else have any more questions or comments or? No?
No, I think
Everyone
it
is-
was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And it made a lot of sense in your comments with your slides. Really, really were appropriate and allowed one to reflect. So thanks.
Very informative, thank you.
I
Thank you
appreciate
again,
it.
Dr. Gonzalez. And
My pleasure.
before we go, I just wanted to share my screen quickly and let everyone know what is coming up. This is actually coming up in May, our next Breakfast with Benefits. It's Secrets to Capture More Leads. And we're going to have two sessions, one in AM and one at PM. This is with Elm Street Academy. And they're very short. They're about, actually, that's supposed to be 10 to 11. This one's starting a little bit later than the 10. So that is coming up next. But I want to thank everyone today for being here. And let me just wait. We have one more question. There's somebody in the chat. Nope, this says thank you. Great class. Yes, it was. And I wish everyone a wonderful day. And we will send this recording out a little bit later this afternoon. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you so much. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Everybody.
Bye.
Bye.